So when do you find time to work on your poetry, being a full-time student and you're involved in these other projects and stuff?
I think like working on poetry is just, it's a release for me. Like it's not necessarily a job. Like it's funny because being a visual artist, like that's like my job. So that's the stuff I have to do, and I have to be really conceptual, and I have to overthink everything. But when I do poetry, it's just like it seems to come a lot more freely, and it doesn't require another device or another medium in order for it to reach a final form. So it's like, for me, like singing or just reciting poetry, it's way more direct. So I just turn my looping pedal on in my like 13th floor or 7th floor apartment building, and I just jam out, looking out on 14th Street.
So what's the story about the looping pedal? Because I think you came back from Montreal with it, and
yeah. Well, I've been working, like my boyfriend and I, in the springtime last year, we decided to start a band. So we started a band, and we called ourselves the Bread and Butterflies, and he plays tabla. So we thought it would be cool to have a looping pedal, and then we could kind of create music, and we could loop the tablas, or loop our voices, or loop his beatboxing, and it kind of became like an extension to the band. So instead of just being 2 members, it was like 3 or 4 or whatever. And then after he moved away, I decided that I wanted one for doing poetry with, because it's super fun to make vocal loops. You know, it adds like another dimension, or like it adds like a platform of sound.
Yeah, it's really unique, and you're actually the first poet I've seen use this.
Well, I remember seeing Francis Crook use it at the 2005 Spoken Word Fest, and I was really inspired by that. And I know that York uses devices like that, where she just takes a recording device and she loops it, or she gets the Icelandic choir to sing. It's just the element of like just vocal I really like, and looping vocal, like it's, you know, takes it to throat singing, it takes it to a cappella, like vocal stuff, and I don't know, I think it's nice for spoken word poetry to still use voice, like to step away from music or an instrument that isn't vocally related.
So you recently performed in the CBC Poetry Face-Off, and you won, and your poem was very good. Can you tell us the name of that poem, and what it's about, and maybe what inspires you when doing it or something?
That poem, wow. Well, I remember getting the phone call.
What's the name of it?
Intersecting Circles. And that poem is the longest story behind it. I don't know if you want to hear it all.
Yeah, sure.
But I got a phone call from Alan Boss in November, inviting me to participate. And he said that the theme was made in Canada. What the fuck is made in Canada? You know, like it's such a broad theme. So I decided to take a bit of like a personal look at how I've been made in Canada, or like what made in Canada really means. And I kind of decided to look back into my ancestry a little. And I'm Métis. I have Métis roots. And I started researching like the family tree. And Marie Cardinal was this woman, was the link to this Métis root. And she came from the Shoshone Indian tribe. And there wasn't really much written about her. And all I saw was the connection of how it got from her to me. So I decided to write this poem about that history, and to kind of create this woman and determine for myself, I guess poetically and artistically, who Marie Cardinal was. And so that was the original idea. And then with my looping pedal, I had this loop that I had my boyfriend put on my pedal before he went away to Montreal. And so I started workshopping with that loop one afternoon. And it was just like divine inspiration. And the loop was going, and I was just going off with the loop, and I had it totally cranked for like a good 2 hours solid. And I tried to record some of the stuff because it was really coming like just fluidly and really instantaneously. And so I had this little tiny dictaphone, this crappy little recorder. And I was just all like, you know, just, it was chaos, but like perfect chaos. And so then I set it down for a little bit, and I came back to it a little bit later on, before coming to a Thought Express actually, and I accidentally deleted the loop. So it was just like from extreme epiphany and total divine inspiration to total and utter like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do now? Like I've just destroyed the seed that like planted this root inside this poem, but I had still a little bit of it, and intersecting circles was a pattern that I kept repeating during like this workshopping, and the color red, and this idea of like blood, and this idea of things flowing together and coming together. So those themes totally remained, but then it became a problem of how is this poem going to formulate itself? Where's the structure going to come from? And it wasn't until about 3 days before the performance that the poem was finally finished. And my boyfriend was back in town, and so we workshopped a little bit with the looping pedal, and it started out with breathing. That's where the loop began, just a and then it extended to a little bit more of like a lower kind of deep like beatboxing sound that I can't do. And then just like some sounds that were made with the tongue and with the lips that kind of have water or like a very organic kind of sound. And then the poem, like it was a day of composing it and figuring out where the vocalization aspect of the poem was going to come from and where just the spoken aspect.